Story 1. They are physically or verbally abusive to an innocent person, such as a child, animal, or older individual. I cannot stand it when someone hurts someone else for no reason, just because they think they can get away with it. Story 2. When they can twist the truth and make others believe events happened in a completely different way than reality, to the point they actually seem to believe it themselves. Story 3. When they are factually incorrect and won't accept it. Like, no, Dad, one of us knows what the doctor told me about my endometriosis when I was alone in the appointment with her, and it isn't you. Story 4. When they start talking over you in a conversation or constantly trying to top everything you say, it's like, calm down, Chad. We get it. You're the most interesting person in the world. Story 5. If I find out they've abused animals or children, that's an instant cut from my friend circles. I generally am the kind of person to not care about most things, but I have zero tolerance for those who use innocent beings for their twisted pleasure and satisfaction. Story 6. What I like to call I am better than you syndrome. If you are going to try and prove why I am nothing and you are everything, hey thanks, now I have lost self-confidence. Story 7. It takes a lot to make me dislike someone intensely, but I absolutely despise a thief with a burning passion. I'm not talking about someone stealing food or baby formula. I'm referring to someone taking my personal belongings such as money or electronics. I worked hard for those, you dishonest person. Story 8. Met a nice enough guy at my neighbor's house one afternoon, hanging out, drinking beers, and just shooting the breeze. Then he started trying to talk me into visiting his church. Showstopper. When I politely tried to change the subject, he got agitated. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Oh well. But yeah, start talking religion and I'm out. Believe whatever you want, it's your right and your solace. With all respect. Just respect me in return and leave me out of it. Story 9. Poor personality traits, such as being snobby or unpleasant, will instantly make me dislike you. Being narcissistic is also a problem. If I notice you exhibit these traits, do not expect to communicate with me in the future. Story 10. I dislike people who treat service workers poorly while that person is just trying to do their job. Like, I understand you're mad about a situation out of my hands, but it doesn't help any of us for you to throw your dirty shoes at me, sir. I can't take them back after they've been worn for a month. Story 11. Nagging, clingy, and demanding behavior. When a person asks you to do something constantly or bothers you unexpectedly, and when you say you don't want to do it, they say, just do it and I'll stop. That really irritates me. Story 12. People who act like always being late is a quirk in their personality or a fun fact is simply wrong. No, you just value your time more than anyone else's. My biggest pet peeve. Story 13. When someone thinks they can hide poor character with charisma, they keep everyone laughing so that they can covertly get away with being bullies and are unpleasant to people. Story 14. When they are misogynistic, racist, full of themselves, mistake kindness for innocence or weakness, talk over me, cannot handle opinions yet call themselves open-minded, are narcissistic, selfish, consider debauchery cool, are judgmental, have a superiority complex, have money but no class yet act like the world is drooling for them, lack basic human decency, admire individuals who are popular for their tactics on how to control women, are unkind to animals and the poor, body shame. Random people do not like the taste of their own medicine, and the list probably goes on. Story 15. The way they treat animals and older people. That is an immediate look into their character. If you cannot treat cute or vulnerable things with empathy, there is something wrong with you. Story 16. Being a pedophile or not having self-discipline, also not respecting the value of life, yet hate is a strong word and for only a few, like pedophiles, I don't know if I can or would forgive. Story 17. When your neighbor in my apartment building next door, whom I'm not friends with, gives my girlfriend drugs during a birthday party I didn't want to go to because I don't like them and had to work the next day. Puts your girlfriend into a bad state afterwards and induced a seizure, and now she's in the intensive care unit after having a seizure with a 50-50th chance she will make it. I've contacted housing for my building after finding out they've been given warnings and notices. I hope they get evicted. If my girl dies, I will go to the police. I'm afraid they will do something to me because they are druggies if I call the cops. But if she dies, screw it. Story 18. People who make big deals out of the trivial because it makes them sound wacky say things like, "Oh my God, you like Hawaiian pizza. What are you, a psycho?" They call themselves obsessive-compulsive disorder when they just mean they're vaguely neat and often not. Grow up and go away while you're doing it. Story 19. People who love to tell others, "I'm blunt, so you better have a thick skin around me." You're not blunt, Stephanie. You're just someone who judges others harshly, usually inaccurately. Story 20. I'm so tired. I barely slept last night. Oh, you barely slept? Try getting 2 hours of sleep every night since I was in the womb. Okay, I don't care, but now I'm annoyed, and I don't want to converse with you ever again because I have a strong idea of how every conversation would go. Story 21. I became instantly enraged when I am walking on a sidewalk and I move over for someone, and they do not move for me and run me into the grass, then pretend not to see me. Story 22. When they use TikTok psychology terms like gaslighting, trauma, trigger, narcissist. If you think someone's a narcissist because they disagree with you and tell you you're wrong, you're probably the narcissist in the situation. Story 23. Using Reddit speak in real life. Hearing things like heckin', doggo, adulting, chonker, phrases like happy doggo does a splash, or some silly thing like that. It makes me very angry. Story 24. I don't hate anyone. I have neither the time nor inclination to waste on hate. That said, sometimes I encounter individuals who bring me joy when they leave me. Story 25. When someone lacks empathy and doesn't try to understand other people's perspective or point of view, it just shows how immature and ignorant they are. It's also a sign of a low IQ. Story 26. If they love and justify communism, and particularly Papa Stalin, also advocates of John Dewey's philosophy and anti-rationalists. Also, bullies and individuals who use physical violence and threats for the most senseless reasons, even towards their friends and acquaintances. People who really get around regardless of their gender. Story 27. Boasting about how badly they can treat someone when pushed. There's a fine line between defending yourself and sadism, and I find that the vast majority of people who claim they're doing the former when declaring how hard they can come down on someone are actually doing the latter. Story 28. When someone lies for no reason or brags about how much they have when it was all handouts and not needed, not knowing the struggle and claiming they do. Story 29. For 30 years, I have been caring for individuals with severe mental disabilities. It is with some reluctance that I admit, and I would never want to be inappropriate, but whenever I see someone with Down syndrome or who appears to be mentally challenged, I find myself hoping they do not approach me. This reaction likely stems from some post-traumatic stress disorder I've developed due to my work experience. My clients always required one-on-one or two-on-one staffing. In fact, for a stretch of 7 years, I had to perform restraints every single workday. Story 30. Romanticizing failure. Oh look, I don't sleep at all. Look at how hard I work. See me? I don't go to the hospital. Laughing my off, what is that, a word that I don't? Lame. And many others. Story 31. People who serenely and blithely give unwarranted advice in a pedantic or patronizing way 30 seconds after meeting you. Contrarian individuals or those who feel compelled to play the devil's advocate in the face of an emotional issue. People who are not critical thinkers and cannot take ownership of their part in an issue, and who shut down and refuse to follow a thought or line of reasoning through to your point. Individuals who ignore your point and go off on tangents. Story 32. Trauma dumping. I've worked with and trained so many people, and I've had more than a few that within 4 hours of shaking hands were talking about why their dad wasn't there and why mom is still hooked on that substance. Story 33. I really dislike people who litter. It's so very easy to put your garbage in your pocket and wait until there's a trash can nearby. It's almost too easy.